That's also why, I mean, it's also the reason why we're not doing video right now is because I'm on my laptop and the setup isn't there yet, but we'll get there probably next week already in some capacity, and then properly after we're done with Pro League. That's when I'll have all the equipment and gear and shit.
Pro League's gonna roll around real quick, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Really is. It already feels like it's really like close. Like it, I don't know. It felt like the second season rolled around really fast from the first season. It'll be fun though.
I thought it was like 2.5 weeks, but I was talking to Hugo today, and he was saying it's only like fucking 11 days from now. We're saying that he has to fly. I'm gonna do like content call tomorrow and stuff, and see where we're at. Make sure everything's in place. Try and get everything fucking sorted out. But yeah, it's rolled around real quick. I just ordered completely 100% off topic. I've got my Wu-Ting all sorted. Already worked out some binds so that I don't have to fucking do W jump throws like a normie. I can do it like I'm cheating. It's great with my Wu-Ting keyboard. And what else did I do? I bought a 360 hertz monitor yesterday. Got delivered yesterday afternoon, so I plugged that in. I've been playing on that today. You're talking to the 7th highest rated gamer as per Valve's own leaderboard system in the world. So that means I'm the seventh best Counter-Strike player in the world. So you guys can address me as Sir, God Emperor.
Sir 7? Sir 7?
No.
You don't like that?
No.
Doesn't flow?
No.
All right.
I think everybody above me is probably cheating, so that's why I'm just going to assume that I'm actually the best.
Yeah, that's fair.
So considering I beat you in the 1v1, what does that make me?
As we all know, Yanko, 1v1 is not a real indication of anything in Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike is a team game. So, you know, this is completely different fields.
You're right. MMR is a much better
it's the
tool.
best definition. Yeah. In the 5v5 environment, it gives everybody the deepest answers that they need to know.
By the
Played
way,
a pug with the European boys yesterday. Logged in, played a game of Vertigo.
How'd that go?
You've really done some work on Rush, Chad.
What do you mean?
He's become a better Counter-Strike player.
Yeah, well, you know, you stay in the lab for long enough, you're bound to get something going.
Yeah, I just didn't expect it. You know, he had a very nice game. We ended up having a big comeback after a slow start in the first half, forced overtime, won in overtime. Rush was top on the scoreboard. It was beautiful.
I
guess if you're playing from America, your ping's going to be a bit silly, isn't it?
Mine was about 110. Connor was about 95 to 100-ish. So it's not like unplayable, but there are certain situations
That's unplayable.
Where you're just well, I mean, as an American, I'm sort of used to it, you know. There are certain fights that you get into where you're just like, fuck, if that guy didn't have like a quarter of my ping, that, you know, it could have gone differently.
Or if you had a quarter of his skill, also would help. Chad, can you get Zowie gear in Malta?
I don't know.
Like EC2 wireless. That's what I'm aiming for.
I just talked to this bloke called Andre who has like, I think he had or has LAN cafes here.
The esports kingpin of Malta is how some people also refer to him.
Gamerslounge.mt. This is not a plug. I have no affiliation. I just bought my monitor for full price from him yesterday. But that is where I go to see if they have anything. So what are you after? Zowie gear?
If you order it now to the hotel, Yanko, it'll probably be there by the time you arrive.
Yeah, I want a new mouse, Chad. I got the EC1, but I think EC2 is more my size. I used to play on the EC2 before, and I don't know why I got the EC1 instead of the EC2 wireless. I guess I just waffled. But I want to...
It doesn't look like he has the EC2 here. He's got the EC3. I didn't even know there was a fucking EC3. I haven't really kept up with Zowie peripherals.
Yeah, I bought the EC3 last year in Cologne because I thought that they only had one size for the wireless. I didn't even use my brain properly. But then I swapped it out for the EC1. In reality, I needed EC2 the whole time. So I'm just an idiot, but that's all right. Yeah, I want that, and I want new headset. I have the Logitech wireless, but I don't like the sound. Like the in-game doesn't sound good on them compared to the old HyperX clouds with the sound cards. Like it's much better on those ones. But I don't know if
the problem with
the HyperX wireless ones would be good, or they would be like, it's just because they're wireless, the sound is always going to be shittier.
Exactly. At the moment, I think that's the case. It's more for the convenience of being able to go take a dump and still have your headset on, as opposed to actually getting good, clean, crisp sound.
I didn't think I've had some wireless headsets. And I didn't feel like the sound was too bad in terms of like I'd fall off, but I got really annoyed having to like keep it charged. Like my wireless headphones were always fucking losing charge in the middle.
That's why these SteelSeries ones are good, because you can just take out, like when the battery is dead, you take it out of the headset and you plug it into the charger, and there's a spare one in the charger, and you plug that in. So you're always like at no point
hot swapping.
Exactly. The only problem with these SteelSeries headsets, I think I would say, is the ear cups need to be a little bit more padded so that it keeps the inside of the headset off your ear. Because if you wear them for a long time, it starts to get a little bit painful. Yeah. And I'm the type of DGen who pretty much as soon as I'm home after the gym, I'm just wearing this headset all day. Like, because I got nothing else to do, which is why I like talking to you guys who live real lives with real things and real other people. So can you tell me what real things you guys have been up to so that I can feel that my life is less miserable?
I can tie this into the headphone discussion because I've just received a stern talking to each of the past like 2 to 3 days because I use the ASON headphones and they have noise canceling. So whenever Jane needs something, needs a little assistance, needs to ask me a question, I can't hear shit. So she's like screaming my name from downstairs and I don't hear a damn thing when I have
Why do you play with noise canceling? Why do you play with it?
I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. The audio quality of the headphones is great. I really like it. They just kind of, the noise canceling is automatically on. And then I turned it off today and I still didn't hear anything. So it doesn't even fucking
You're just
matter.
getting old.
It's just headphones and Counter-Strike noises. And it's like nothing's breaking through that. Like my brain's focused. So I'm not listening for sounds in the background, you know?
I tried that like ages ago, like, I don't know, in 2016 maybe. I put in my Bose, you know, the ones like for flights, the noise canceling ones. I was like, these are like superior. They're just good headphones, right? So how will Counter-Strike sound in them? And it wasn't terrible, but it was still the HyperX ones with the sound card are still better. So I think there's some tweaking.
Cloud 2s are nice
to be done there.
Jane, if you're listening to this and you ever need to get Jason while he's gaming, message me on Instagram. I'll give you the TeamSpeak IP. You can download TeamSpeak on your phone. I'll even give you permissions, Jane, so you can join any channel.
You can just poke him.
She
just
can
poke
ban
him.
me from the fucking channel. Yeah.
No, she's just gonna poke you.
Ban you. Yeah,
I think she might
ban you.
Yeah, she would come in there and she would think it was funny. You know.
Yeah.
He gave her those powers.
I can see that.
It's a great sense of humor.
We know she's one of the greatest fibbage players of all time, Jane. No one makes jokes quite like Jane.
That is true. Shout out to Fibbage 110.
For fuck's sake. Real world stuff. I'm remodeling my bathroom right now, Chad. If you want to get a sense of outside the gaming world of what life is like.
So, what stage are you at? Have you waterproofed it? Are the tiles down?
I hired a guy to do that. He's up there right now. He's been here since Monday tiling. I did all the tear out and demo of the previous bathroom. I've taken out the previous shower, tearing down walls, tearing down a bulkhead, tearing out cabinets and stuff. Now we're tiling it up, and he's waterproofed the area where the shower is going to go. So the floor will be done at the end of the week. And then someone comes in next week to measure the walls for the shower, and they order those parts. That'll come in like 6 weeks. And we're just trucking along, man. We went today and looked at some cabinets material.
Just so we can all know how well you're doing, is it floor to ceiling tiling?
Yeah. So the floor is its own.
He's doing pretty well, everybody.
Tile, and then
floor to ceiling tiling.
We got floor to ceiling. It's called Corian. We didn't want any grout lines, so it's all going to be like one big piece floor to ceiling, so that there's no.
He's doing really well, everybody.
When someone goes seamless shower, it's going really nice. Yeah.
Okay. Now. Okay.
Is that it, Jason?
That's all. That's my master bathroom story. There you go.
For
master
me,
what?
Master bathroom story.
Okay. So
almost.
do me a second, do that.
Almost got it. For me, I just got the new fridge arrived today.
Okay.
So I had to do take the old one out, put the new one in. I had my monitor arms delivered today as well. So tomorrow I'm waiting for the carpenters to come in to drill holes in my new desk, so I can finally to finish how do you say it, like stabilizing the desk so I can actually put my setup, put my PC, the monitors, install everything, how it's going to be like. Bought the, how do you call it, the stroller yesterday as well. That was the last thing on the list.
Pram, Jason. It's a pram.
Oh, yeah.
That thing.
Stroller is also a fine term, Yanko. He's just American.
Yeah. And then tomorrow I have to go and pick up my car that was at the shop for 3 weeks because something fucking broke down while I was driving before I left for Cologne, and they waited for the parts, and something for the cooler, the hose or something broke down, some part.
See, Chad, how does the real world sound so far? Does it sound good to you?
Well, it sounds like you have things going on. Like, I'm kind of like an NPC. When nothing's happening, I just am sitting here looking into blank space, and then when something turns me on, right, the switch goes on, and then away I go. Otherwise, I'm just like, there's nothing happening. I'm just
hey, I gotta step away for 2 minutes. Can you guys keep going? I just had something pop up. I'll be right back.
No, we'll all be quiet for 2 minutes.
Well, I guess he's not wearing the noise cancelling headset right now, is he?
Yeah.
Because otherwise he wouldn't have fucking heard.
But it's
what
also
a scumbag.
Yeah, but it's also like I did have at least one day for the post-Cologne blues. It hit so hard.
Yeah, it's sad that it's over and then it doesn't happen again until next year, because like there are other good events within the year, and we do Katowice, but like Katowice is not the same. It's not the same as Cologne. It's completely different. Like Cologne, I think the problem I have with Cologne is once you get to the arena stage, it goes so fast. It's over in the blink of an eye. Like when we're there and we're doing the group stage, like that's all good. But the days don't feel like it's over. As soon as the arena starts, you want to be there in the vibe, and there's so many people to see and talk to. And a lot of people only come for the playoff weekend. They're not there the whole time. And you always see someone and you never have time to have a chat to everybody. It is sad that it ends so quickly. I wish we could have like one day where we think the event's on, but we're not actually doing anything. But that'll never be the case. That's a pipe dream. It'd be a waste of time.
Just stay an extra Monday. We take it easy. We decompress. We do the episode then, and then go home, because it's a very busy 2 weeks, right? I mean, the play-in and the stuff, it's like 7-8 days in a row of games or media or everything, right? And then
the 2 days off aren't even 2 days off because we're doing more stuff.
Yeah, but it's still good to have those, and because the arena is so intense, right? And you just feel drained at the end of the event from all the work, really, and the energy in there is incredible. So to be able to match that, it takes a lot. So that's why I always feel exhausted at the end of it.
Yeah, it was another good one. I think my travel down the way home was a little bit annoying. Alex and I, we at least were fortunate with the trains back to Frankfurt. On the way in, the trains from Frankfurt to Cologne, there was some rail work stuff going on, so it was 2.5 hour trains. So that was a bit shitty. But on the way back, they were just regular time trains, so it was only 50 minutes to Frankfurt. But we went with OJ. OJ was going off to go do another event somewhere, and we get there and we're at the airport. We check in, everything's good. We go through, and we're at gate A2, and then we're sitting and waiting to board the flight, and I reckon maybe about half an hour before boarding starts, they're getting on the blower and they're like, "Hey, it's an overbooked flight. Like, if you want to check your luggage, your one of your bags, because it's all good, you can do that." And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? Like, I want to do that. And I go up and they go, "Any batteries or laptops?" And they go, "No batteries or laptops." All the while, there's a laptop in there. Anyway, so I check it, and then the next little message is, "Hi, we once the plane landed from where it was coming from, there was issues in the cockpit. One of the screens went black." And I was like, "Well, that doesn't sound very good, does it?" And then they were like, and we've had engineers on the plane ever since they landed to try and fix the issue. But the screen, they replaced the screen and it's still black. So, we'll let you know what's happening. So then I reckon 10, 15 minutes later, they're like, "Okay, so now you're going to move. You're going to go to a gate, A36, which is literally on the other side of the airport." And Alex hurt his ankle, like doing some bouldering. Fucking was limping the whole event for the better part of like a week and a half. So then we're walking from A2 to A36, and we get there, And they're like, okay, so this is a smaller plane. You're not all going to fit. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. And then they go, now what we're offering is a flight later in a couple of hours that's going to go from Frankfurt to CDG. And then from CDG, you will then fly to Malta a little bit later in the evening. And we'll give you 400 euros. And thank God there were some people out there who needed that 400 euros and took that, because there was no way in the world that I wanted to fucking sit around and wait. But we still ended up waiting for I think we were delayed for about 2.5, 3 hours overall, which was not that bad. It could be worse. That's not terrible as far as.
Have you ever taken those deals, the money deals to
no
get a
way in
later
the
flight?
world, mate. No way in the world.
I have once. They offered $900, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it for $900.
Wait, but do you get
900's
cash,
not
or they
bad.
just offer you like a travel voucher in that?
A travel voucher, but I mean, it's easy for me to use that because Jane never wants to come to an event, or if we're flying. To go
Wait,
see her
hold up.
parents
It's
or
not
something.
actual cash?
No, it's usually a travel voucher.
What the fuck,
usually like-
Jason, man?
$900 to the airline.
Nah, that's dog shit.
And I think
With the prices these days,
With the prices these days.
that's out of. I'm pissed off. I hope those people took cash, not a fucking $400 travel voucher. Fuck that.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
You back now? Did you solve your issue?
yeah. I had to get something for my dad who just got here.
I think.
What did you? Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Go ahead, Chad.
I was gonna say, Jason, have you donated your Razer keyboard to the local Good Sammys, or what's going on?
Oh yeah, I've actually burnt it. I've just thrown it in a trash can and lit it on fire the old-fashioned way. It seems to be useless if I can't use SnapTap. So what's the fucking point?
That's where I was going with that as well.
Scumbag cheater, Jason. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, to kick it off just with SnapTap is dead. SnapTap era, August 2024.
It was a quick one.
It was,
wasn't it?
but that the correct body made the decision, which is the thing that I am the happiest with, because I think a lot of people were seeing it and they're like, oh, TOs aren't banning and this, that, and the other. So I don't think it should, especially if Valve is planning on being slightly more hands-on in the future. And I think that's kind of the case with how the things are changing for the major cycle next year and the way that the events are going to play into ranking and da. So they are, by that nature, slightly more hands-on anyway. And with something like this, which is an evolution of the technology, which who knows how deep that rabbit hole could have potentially gone, I think that it was important that it was them coming out. Because let's say Valve didn't ban it and TOs did, and then Valve said, no, but at the major, we don't give a fuck, you can use it. Like at least this way, it comes from the god themselves, and it's like, no, this isn't something that you can use. See you later, alligator. And I think that's the best thing that came out of this is Valve obviously being contacted by these TOs to have the conversation of, hey, like this is happening. What do you want to do about it? And then them doing something about it, which is great. That's the best port of solution that we could have found. So that's what I'm the happiest about with the whole thing.
I'm happy about that as well, and I'm happy too because I think it's the right decision, just on like a base level of forget who said it, but I think it's the right decision to remove that, in my personal opinion. I don't like the additional step up from a third party hardware. I don't like that concept of that being something that we're fine doing moving into the future. So I really
think
like
the problem was as well was the automation with people using the configs too. Right, like the hardware is one thing, but then everybody, and then apparently I was talking to some guys in Cologne, like MC was telling me that there was this new config which was even more imber. I didn't look into it. He just mentioned to me in passing, more imber than like the SOCD or the keyboard binds. There's something that was even more extreme, and I was like, "What the fuck with this?"
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it in a
different
tweet
beast.
briefly. Someone said the same thing. I didn't really look into it, but I saw that someone had like basically made a config binds that brought it to basically exactly like Valorant movement, which I don't know the details of all of that, but it was really really strong in helping you counter strafe and be accurate as soon as possible.
We fucking love Valorant around here.
Fucking love it.
Oh, yeah, the little cartoon and characters and fucking ultimates and wizards.
Pixies
Saturday
and
morning
fairies.
esports.
Yeah.
It's fucking
I think for me, it's just like the ruling came quick, and as Chad said, came from the appropriate body. It's like the F1 ABS thing, right? Like they just decided, hey, we don't want this, screw it, like none of this. But what do you think about the jump throws now being affected by it as well?
Well, I think it had to happen because the stance was to do with automation, right? So unfortunately, the jump throw situation falls under the category of automation. I think that the key for me was that they acknowledged the fact that jump throws are an important part of the game. And that also plays into why they introduced the grunting or the threshold of throwing jump throw smokes with that, that little tell if you're doing it correctly. So I am more annoyed at the fact that they didn't put a stop to it earlier, because they obviously introduced that early, right? They introduced that pretty early on with the release of CS2. I don't remember. Did it come out with the game? I think it did, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So from the release of CS2, the more frustrating point to me is why they didn't have this standpoint in place then. Obviously, SnapTap shining the light on the automation and bringing it back up in that conversation, but it's just the game's been out for almost a year now, and they allowed these things to be used, even though they had what in their mind, which is they obviously think that way, is a solution for that issue, I guess, or that bind nature. So that's the frustrating part for me.
I wonder if it was like a conversation or a debate within the devs. Like, I wonder if there was like a split of like whether they should allow it or keep it in the game, and like they just didn't know where to take it. And then SnapTap was kind of like the tipping point where they were like, okay, this is getting too far. Let's just remove the ability to bind multiple actions to one key. Let's just remove them altogether.
Yeah, but we've been here twice before, right? Or maybe even more than twice. So like 2015, the whole thing happened. And then obviously with the release of CS2 and the skill check that they had put in place with this, but then people still use binds, right? Yeah. And then, and now like there's still other binds that people can use. If people are paying attention to Reddit or Twitter or whatever, they're probably seeing things popping up. I have been able to bind using my Wu-Ting keyboard. I can set it so that at different actuation points on the keyboard, based on like where it is in the release of the press, it can do multiple actions. So I have this one key that is bound to on the initial push down, it's forward on the like as it slightly gets released. It's now jumping, and then at full release, it's releasing. So like if you just hit the key quickly, it all happens like instantly, right? And I can just do that with my Wu-Ting keyboard, and it's through the keyboard.
And that part is allowed still?
Oh, that feels dirty.
Well, it's through it. It's not getting you kicked from
the Valve
server,
community servers,
right?
All right.
Yeah. So
one more thing, because I didn't get to play the update yet or anything. So this doesn't mean that the W jump throw is dead, just that it's more difficult, or is that one dead?
Wait, what?
Like walking and jump throwing. Is that just more difficult now, or you can't do it?
No, so you can still do the walking jump throws fine. The way it was explained to me was like on ancient CT side, a lot of like those insta smokes are like the walking forward, like taking multiple steps, jump throw. And the ones that's banned is the one where it's like the movement, the jump, like the one tap forward jump throw is the one that's removed.
Something that, okay.
What?
Does that make sense to you, Chad? Did I explain that?
Wait, say it again?
Like if I'm thinking on like ancient, like a lot of those instant smokes that you throw on CT side for like elbow control are like multiple steps walking forward to a point and then you jump and throw. And that's obviously still there and fine because you don't do that with just one key. It's the one where you just kind of one T moves you like one step forward and jumps at the same time and releases the grenade is the one that's removed.
Well, it's I guess the thing is when it was a bind, the way that like Insta on Mirage would work from T-Spawn to window or Insta on Ancient towards Red Room, for example, the automation of it would mean that you were perfect with your step and release every time. Whereas the ones that you're talking about from CT to elbow or CT to B double doors on Ancient are aim at this point and release at this point, which
it's not a one key bind.
Exactly. So you could just come up with different variations to be able to do the jump, move, smokes in a similar vein. I don't know like the threshold necessarily for how much wiggle room you get on a Mirage window smoke, for example. Like how much further forward can I move if I say I aim at this point and release at this point, and will it still be fine? Like I don't really play a lot of Mirage. I know how to do the insta windows, but I don't know how much threshold there is. But essentially it just is about getting the muscle memory of having the W and release like practiced, and you should be able to do it more often than not. But some of them with really small windows where the smoke is not forgiving, like it's going to hit a step or it's going to hit a this if you're like slightly off.
The ledge of a wall, yeah.
Right, yeah. So some of them might become like from you could do it 100% of the time to maybe you can only do it 90% of the time. And that could have an influence on whether people want to run those smokes or not, because you could fuck them up.
Can I be honest? I really don't give a fuck about the jump through a bind being removed. Like I understand why it's annoying for players. I understand, why it's bothered. I understand that, as you said, Chad, like why do it now if why have it in this long if you were going to remove it? But it's really not that big of a thing to me. I feel like within like a week or two, this conversation we're all gonna forget that this was ever any kind of massive issue,
Yeah, sure. And they also don't want like for you to have to tweak and create that bind. It's kind of something that a new player couldn't easily do. That's why they put it in the game, so the players can easily replicate what the pros do. So I can understand that. But one thing that's also a bit strange is why did they add the sound? Like that your opponents can hear it.
The audible for other players.
Yeah, exactly. We had that with the underhand flash like ages ago, or like just every nade pulled, right? Like, but I just am a bit surprised that why add that? Like, I think it could affect like a lot on some maps, like you could hear them.
You can hear the
whatever.
So you're like, oh, they're jump throwing from this position. It's smoking.
Doesn't matter if you jump throwing, just like he's there throwing a nade, right? And you could maybe react or whatever. You could just get even earlier information. I'm not really sure why add that. Like, was that necessary? What's the thought process behind that? But yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. Like, I didn't put too much thought into why that is now audible. Is it to try and punish in some way for doing a jump throw? But then what does that serve? You might already make noise already, right, when you hit the ground?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you do. I mean,
maybe they just wanted to add a grunt.
Do.
They just wanted to have an extra sound in there.
Yeah, you're right, Chad. I didn't think of it that way. So it doesn't really just a second earlier that you get the info. I hope that it's the same, like the distance from which you hear it, that is the same as for the jump, and then that's pretty much the same shit. All right, that's that.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm just arguing with a guy on Twitter at the moment who's accusing me of queuing with a cheater on fucking matchmaking.
Oh, perfect.
Let me reply to him. Hold up.
That's good value.
Dickhead.
Yeah, Dickhead's a strong opening, I think.
Yeah, well, the guy is accusing me of queuing with a cheater, but we played with these guys last night. Me, Henry, and Harry were queuing games, and we had these same guys in the party 2 games in a row. Sorry, not in our party. That were
just
in our lobby 2 games in a row.
Team,
yeah. So we didn't, like, I'm not queuing with fucking randoms. You guys know how I am. I'm not fucking queuing with anybody.
You don't even queue with your friends.
That's actually very true. And it's like I don't understand why. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to fucking.
Wait, get on with it. What comes after a dickhead?
I'll have to think a little bit more about the abuse that I want to throw at this individual.
All right.
But yeah, I'll have a think about it.
Jason,
but it'll probably be pretty good.
How much? Yo. How hard was it to have to leave Cologne before the playoffs, bro?
It fucking sucked, dude. I'll be honest with you. It fucking sucked. Yeah, I hated it. That's the first time I've done that at like arena event where I leave at the end of the group stage, and just have to watch the playoffs from home, and it fucking blows. Especially because I love Cologne, and I've never missed an arena for each Cologne I've worked. So yeah, it sucked. But I don't know. What are you going to do? It was nice to get some time at home because I'm going to be away for so long. So I just kind of tried to look at the positive side of it of like, this gave me like a full blown week at home versus what you guys got home on Monday. So it would have been like 5 days before I have to leave. So that part was nice. But
Yeah, I mean,
I was just sat there watching it and being like, God, I wish I was fucking there.
I didn't want to make it so depressing. You know, I was just trying to like segue into into like a different talking point. But since
segue away.
Since we were there and you weren't, you know, just like you guys at the major and I wasn't. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts of the games or the playoffs.
I was very sad that G2 got banged out by Mouse. Although I'll be honest, when I was watching that, I was like, how fitting is it that Mouse is about to win a stage game over G2? Like I knew, yeah, I was really, in some level, I thought that would be funny for when we have this conversation with you here. I thought the final was cool. I thought it was weird seeing Vitality win just because it felt to me when I was watching the grand final that they were playing like, I was actually kind of worried for them in the first map or two because it felt like they were playing Navi's game. And I thought that was going to be like to their detriment. Like that's not a style that I felt like Vitality has shown they can kind of handle through all their struggles of this year. But I felt like they played a pretty slower, calculated, tactical style that I think they've struggled with in the past. So that was fun to watch them overcome Navi playing essentially their own game in my mind. Which was fun. I think, things like FaZe losing was rough. I thought that Liquid win to get into the playoffs was kind of going to be that spark, that ignition for them to get back. It was nice seeing Saw win that and have a big upset for them. But I was a little bit bummed that FaZe couldn't carry it forward. I think G2 still kind of, on top of the loss to Mouse, I think they're still kind of showing, I think they're still like a very similar team in the sense that, I think they're still very individual reliant. I don't think they have the ability to like tactically beat a team, if they ever get into that kind of a battle, which it felt like they did. Like it felt like Shuhei just called circles around them on Dust 2, which was the only map from that series I watched. But yeah, I thought it was a cool.
Mate,
cool
didn't
event.
have to fucking call circles around, and they were fucking dog shit on the T side.
Yeah,
Not much better on the CT side.
yeah, it was weird. It was crazy seeing that kind of a. Although I mean, I guess that kind of drop off is sort of expected to an extent, but the way that G2 just like melted through the group stage, and then I wonder if that hindered them at all.
I mean, maybe a bit, but the problem is like that's the worst they looked with the new roster, right? Like that was the ugly old G2 just fucking up, playing like shit, choking, making moves that don't make sense, right? Players going missing a little bit too.
But that's also the problem when you're stylistically like, I don't know, it's got to be so weird for G2 to have all these like intelligent and really good individuals, and you want them to have the freedom across the world. But those are the kind of things that happen when that is like kind of your win condition. Your main win condition is how good your individuals are. When they're a little bit flat, sometimes it is going to feel like they're making stupid decisions. Sometimes it is going to feel like they're doing wrong reactions just because they're kind of,
they just played bad. I don't think any of that is necessarily like why they lost. They just played bad. Like they had how many entries more than Mouse on that Dust 2 map. Like they have long and they're 5v4 and there's a minute and 20 seconds still left, and somehow they fuck up like round after round after round. Like it's wild. That just bad CS. Like you could exactly see like what the plan for Mouse is. Doesn't matter whether they're, right or wrong, what the read is, but they have decided to do something, and that's what they're doing, and they're just waiting to see what G2 does before they can react. And with G2, you're like watching, it's like, what are you guys actually trying to do in this round? Like what's the next move here? What is happening here, right? Like sure, some of that stuff was a little bit unfortunate at times, but I don't think that excuses them. Like there was that 5v4 round where they're thinking, okay, maybe Mouse is stacking, so Hunter is like searching B, but Snacks is also up ramp on his own, then they both die and the round falls apart. I think also when Mouse was on the T side, the round where m0NESY is like holding cat with the op, but Shui just booked it, sort of took cat pretty fast and the team was walking behind him. I think Mones was a little bit surprised by the fact that they were like that close, even though he was scoped in and sort of like scope swinging, scope peeking, but he misses that shot. But then it's also like G2 going for that retake. Like Monesi died. There's only one guy long. Nico was like in CT and 2 guys are B. Why are you like, okay, Nico pokes his head a little bit. Maybe he gets a kill or 2 with something, right? Maybe someone starts lurking long and Malbs kills him and all of a sudden you have a chance. But no, that didn't happen. They were still trying to fucking retake or whatever and they lose, I think, all players or maybe one guy survives, right? And then a couple of rounds later, another 5v4 for G2 on the CT side. And Hunter and Snacks decide to leave B to play for mid because they were like out of util or whatever. I don't know. Mouse was going like all 4 tunnels B. So they get into the site. I think they killed like both of them. So they were 4v4 or something. I don't know. But they were in B like and all of that. And then G2 is sort of lingering. And then they want to go for this like super late retake, right? To catch them off guard. But they fuck it up so bad. I think Mouse even re-smoked. It was just horrible. It was just terrible. And while all these other teams are, especially from a lead on the CT side, playing the percentages, saving the guns, giving themselves more chances. 2 rounds that they won were like scrappy rounds. One of them was, or both, it was like 5-7 kills from Snack, something crazy like that. So you can win these scrappy rounds, and instead of just saving the guns and giving yourselves as many opportunities, like you're going for these ridiculous rounds. Like, I don't know, like that was the problem. It was the manner in which they lost, and then Mirage was just awful. I mean, Mouse was 1 step ahead of them the whole time. On the T side, a couple of CT side rounds they won were based off of individual heroics, and you just had no faith really in G2 that they were going to be able to sort of bounce back and extend the series, or even if they did somehow, like that they would be able to win the series.
Does G2 win a trophy in the second half of the year?
I mean, they might. But no, I mean, no, I
Give
mean,
me a
like,
yes or no.
Yes. Okay, they'll win fucking, I don't know,
Chad, are they getting
Pro
a trophy?
League or Rio or some shit.
Oh, they could do. I just think
God
that
damn
it was.
Jason, fuck, you're the fence sitter, and now you're fucking talking shit.
I
to
know.
us.
I'm trying to evolve. I'm trying to change. You know. I'm
Wait,
trying
you
to,
just want to do
trying to learn
TMZ
from the
level
best.
fucking let's just throw out statements that, you know, for no reason just to get a reaction? Like, we don't do that over here.
No, it's not for a reaction. I wanted
give
the
context.
conversation. I wanted to have the conversation about why you think they're going to win a trophy in the second half of the year.
Yeah, but it's like so early on their evolution as well, right? This is only their 3rd event, and that's if you count the group stage of Blast as a fucking event full of partner teams that means nothing, right? Like, essentially it was practice for Cologne, and their lower bracket run was awesome, but Mao's actually finally put up some resistance. And the first time they played a real stage match, because EWC wasn't really stage games, it was a very small crowd. And, you know, it's the first stage match for somebody like Malbs. The T side, the calling I thought was very questionable. I think the round Yanko talking where they're trying to retake Upper Dark on an anti-force is like, what are we even seeing? That just seems so uncharacteristic.
Oh, bro, sorry but that was the second one where they wanted to go long but didn't, and then they turned back to go upper tunnels without having any info what's going on there. How?
Yes. It didn't make any sense. I don't understand why they did that. Maybe like they overcooked it in terms of looking at demos or whatever. Maus also changed the position of Exertion and Brolin on that one. I'm not sure that had too much of a big impact. I actually thought that was going to make things tougher for Maus in that game. But it didn't look like the same team. But obviously, this was Maus putting up resistance against them, right? Winning out a couple of harder, scrappier rounds. They weren't just having all the clutches go in their favor, which is going to be the case. They're not going to win every clutch round. That was something that was just going in their favor throughout the group stage. They were winning the pistols and the conversions, and they weren't having any drama. And Maus put up a bit of friction, and they just looked all sorts. I think one of the more concerning things was seeing a bit of tilt starting to creep onto some of the players again. I think what I have a concern about is where is the tactical evolution of the team going to come to, which is a concern that I think most people have had when looking at Snacks, the in-game leader of this team. And then the other scenario overall with this is the team, for me, is going to be based off of committee decisions. They're not going to go into a scenario where this is going to be a hugely structured team where Snacks is playing chess with the pieces that he has. It's going to be going into games relying on each and every single one of those players every time they get in the server to make sure that they are contributing at 110% if they want to get the best result. And by that, I mean giving ideas, coming up with solutions, working on what the type of moves that they're going to be able to do based as a team. And it's not going to be Snacks the mastermind. He's going to be the one calling the shots, right? But it's going to be done by committee in a lot of these rounds. And because he has experienced members like Hunter and Nico around him, and he has Monacy who's going to want to make plays, and he has Malbs that wants to get stuck in a fight. So the identity of this team for me is going to be based off of them doing it as a group. And I still think, I still agree with the Pitter tweet that it's going to be good in the short term and it's going to taper off and be bad in the mid to long term. So, their window to win something is in the next couple of months, and then after that, I think that they'll look for something new. I don't think that this will stay for a long time.
If there's anything I can say in their defense is the fact that they, even with all those tournaments, only had probably between 10 and 15 days of just practice, because of all the travel and everything and setting stuff up. And maybe, whether Dust 2, when they played it was mostly CT side where they were winning and didn't have to play T side too much. I don't know, but saying basically that with more time, once they get more reps on these maps, have more protocols, have more okay, we have long and we have these 3 things that we can do with long, right? Instead of having to sort of wing it during the game or whatever it is. I think it might be better because they're playing they played insane individually. I mean, at the end of the event, the first 3 highest rated players are from G2.
Yeah, that's crazy to look at.
With 2 maps played less than Vitality and Navi. So it's not 3 maps and they're up there. It's Monacy, then Nico, then Malbs, and then Hunter is in the top 10 as well. So you don't really need too much when you have that much firepower. It's just you're 5v4. You have long on Dust 2. Okay, let's just go 5 long and finish the round. Okay, we did that. Next round, or if Hunter killed a guy in lower B, okay, let's just go back 4 cat and leave just 1 guy long. Instead of trying to have a player sneak out mid and do this, just play, KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. You have the players, okay, it doesn't have to be brain dead, but that should be your main strength. Right?
Yeah, you're going to hit harder, so just keep to the basic approaches and trust that your individuals are going to and it means that in certain scenarios you are going to be easier to read, right? But the way that you're going to bail yourself out is through having the strong individuals. At least that's my surmise. Yeah.
Did you guys get a chat with any of the Vitality guys after the final or during the playoffs at all? Because I know after Dallas and especially after EWC, it was looking pretty fucking grim over in that camp.
There were murmurs of roster changes, right? So it is interesting, but they didn't look like the same. They didn't look like the same team as what we had seen from them in the lead up to this. I think that from their approach to the game mainly. I don't necessarily mean in terms of the output of individuals, because the output of individuals, sometimes you get a good game from this guy and sometimes you get a good game from this guy, but it didn't all kind of sync up. This felt like they were this is what the ceiling of Vitality can look like, I think. I said this yesterday on HLTV. I don't know what you guys think about this. And this isn't to shit on them or Navi by any means, but I don't think that the quality of Counter-Strike in terms of individual decision making and aim was high level. And obviously the context of it being a grand final game and the pressure of that playing in and making people's aim a little bit more wobbly or making them make decisions that they wouldn't normally make just mean that if this game was played in the studio, the series would have looked completely different in terms of the outcome of rounds. Think about how many retakes we saw between those 2 teams in scenarios where traditionally teams would just save or have no chance if they were to go for that retake. But the type of rounds that they were able to win, all the B retakes on Dust 2, and I know a lot of them were 2v2, 3v3 type things, but even still, those type of rounds are fucking rarely winnable. The Mirage round where Imma and Bit retook from Cat, that should never happen. Not only, so Bit hits an absolute scorcher of a shot on the bench player, fine. Then they get slowed down by the guy over towards the Edward pillar, and then the way that he gets baited out of market into the fight at the end, considering the time, like that's the pressure coming into play there. I think tactically, in terms of the mind games the in-game leaders and coaches were playing with each other, in terms of certain players in positions they wouldn't normally be, or some of the rounds that were being called, I think that was still high level. But I think that the aim and the fundamentals in post-plant situations was a cause of the arena,
left something to be desired at times. I think it's fair to say. I mean, let's be honest. Like, if Wonderful doesn't whiff 5 times in regulation, Navi has Mirage in the bag. I mean, there were 2 rounds in the second half where it's like, actually, the big one was at 12-10, I think, right? Like, where he just has a guy dead to rights, like they're doing something with low util and just misses and dies, and the round falls apart, right? So some of that stuff is like, ugh. Because for Navi especially, the first 2 maps that they lost were one in OT, the other one in triple OT, right? So it's just a couple of details. And on the nuke also, they lost both pistols. And they lost, it was Apex who beat them in the end with his individual moves. Like, Zaiwu was non-existent on nuke.
He won that clutch, but he
had
never
that one
been
clutch,
in that clutch,
which is also
Apex.
that Bit kind of fucked up. Yeah, he wouldn't be in the clutch
Bit had a
without
really
Apex,
bad map.
exactly. And Bit had a pretty poor series, all things considering, especially if we, take Inferno out of it when he really started playing and everything. But Nuke, for example, he was the lowest rated player for Navi, right? A guy that's been arguably an MVP candidate for them up until the final. So I think that's what in the end let Navi down, was the individuals. If they could just get a little bit more out of Wonderful, on Mirage, on Bit, on Nuke, they're 3-0 in the grand final. But there's a lot of teams out there
that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams out there with their what ifs and whatnot. But that Mirage was just insane when it came to OTs. That was like a lot of
there's a lot of clutches in there.
Just exciting as fucking entertaining to watch. Yeah, exactly.
The thing that I thought was like none of the moments were like crazy insane from one individual. Like even the Zaiwu 1v2 that he won against Wonderful and Bit, like it wasn't like an insane display of skill, but it was again just like playing into the pressure of the moment and players making decisions that maybe they otherwise wouldn't, or missing. Like, because Wonderful had some bad misses, Bit had a bad nuke, and I think that's kind of where the separation points for the two teams were. Like, I don't want to just put it on one individual, but when certain shots are being missed that you're expecting these players to be hitting and they're not, they are the difference makers in a round, which then play into the series. But Na'Vi were playing behind on Mirage the entire time, I'm pretty sure. Right? Like in all of the overtimes, they were the ones that had to stay in it, whereas Vitality were the ones who had to close. So I think it was a very entertaining final. I don't know like what the massive takeaways are from it though. That's one thing that I don't know if you guys have big opinions about, but the whole event of Cologne, what are the big takeaways of what this means for the status quo? Because for me, I don't think a lot changes from where we were with a lot of these names beforehand. FaZe is still in trouble, right? I don't think that's changed. G2 is still a new roster with a lot of firepower. I think Mouse is the one probably for me where the most dialogue has shifted, at least in my opinion of them. But what's your boys' takeaways?
I'm with you on some of the teams like FaZe and G2, even Na'Vi and Vitality to an extent. I think it's felt for a while like we've had 4 or 5 teams that could pop up and win it in any tournament. We've had a ton of different winners and champions so far in this year. For me, the conversation around Mouse doesn't change a whole lot. It was nice to see them get a nice win on stage in that situation. I think the conversation probably most shifted around a team like Liquid, and then I think Spirit is probably worth a conversation with how disappointing their Cologne was. But I'm with you that it doesn't seem like it furthered, a whole wealth of stories and situations for teams or players across the board. But I think pinpointing like those two teams, the disappointment of Spirit and then the impressive eye test gameplay of Liquid, not so much the final placing, is probably where most of my thoughts strayed to.
Yeah, I think a couple of good storylines in a way, in a sense of Vitality being able to win a tournament with this roster. After, okay, they won the initial two, but this whole year it's been collapse after collapse at the last hurdle, right? Mouse at Pro League, Dallas, G2 in Dallas. And here they persevered. I mean, they managed to outgrind Na'Vi, which are the grinders at the moment, very difficult team to put away. So that was great. Zyvo had a good final outside of the first map, absolutely had his moments. Dust 2, okay, even which they lost, but then Mirage as well, a lot of consistency, had that big 1v2 on the A-bomb side, so that was cool. Mouse really played good CS, even in the loss against Na'Vi. I mean, it was a close game. It was a game of details. It didn't feel like they were messing up too much. Like, yes, of course, they lost all those clutches on Mirage and an eco in the second half, but every time they lose a round like that, they win the next round, right? Like, they didn't, that one round didn't snowball out of control, and sure, you can argue they're not supposed to lose some of them in the first place, and then maybe they win Mirage and we go to a third. All that is true, but I think the most important thing for that roster is that they fought. They didn't just disappear. The individuals didn't disappear. They had a good showing. They also smashed G2 the day before that on the stage. So I think we're seeing them grow up, right? Like, now I don't think we'll see again Mouse. Like, when they lose on stage, it has to be someone beating them. They won't beat themselves.
They won't give away games just with the inexperience.
Exactly. FaZe was very disappointing, especially from the individuals. Like, Brokey had, I think, his worst series, like big series for FaZe in impact-wise. Like, he was missing key shots at, important rounds. Just not really that many bright spots. Sometimes drops a little bit and stuff, but that wasn't. You saw how Vitality, how easy they made it look the next day, right? And it wasn't that they played super crazy. It's just, I think that's a realistic result right now, which isn't a knock on Saw, but that should just be because of the difference in the individual level of the players. That's kind of what you should expect at that point in time. Saw a great story for them, being able to get to the playoffs, and win a game. I think they're playing they're going to be 2-0 in the RMR close qualifier, so they should make it to the RMR just fine. So that's the big thing for them, is making the major, right? Potentially showing up at some other tournament, like just getting their ranking up for next year, so they could just play these tier 1 tournaments more often. Who else is there? Na'Vi. Is
it time? I guess if I want to go back to the Spirit thing, like, is it time to be worried at all? Like, I mean,
I'd definitely be worried. I'd be worried because of their body language, not, what's going on.
The straight up capitulation.
Because it seems like, because it seems like that only happens to teams like who are dead already, Like, something's changing within the team and we just don't know it, but they do. So there's no fight there. They just are going through the motions.
They
I don't know, because I don't think anything is changing, right? But that's just how they looked. I don't think anything is changing.
Had that thought.
So it doesn't make. So how did I don't know. Just I don't want to even put it all on the staff. How could the players themselves let that happen and behave like that? Like, where is the some, what's the word? It's not dignity, but when
pride?
It comes to just what?
Pride?
Yeah, pride, exactly. Like, where's your pride, bro? Like, you're getting blown out, like you're doing this, you're doing that. I don't know. It just looked weird. Even if I want to give them, like, because if you look at that new game against G2, like, G2 were just in their face the whole time, right? Like, and that was probably a little bit surprising. But I think, I don't know. You can always look at it both ways. If they were on point, then they punish some of those plays. Like, not all those plays work for G2. So that was just strange from Spirit. They'll be playing Bad Boom soon, so we'll see if things are going to look any better. But I do want to mention one more thing about like the playoffs. I don't know if it was in the playoffs, right? Where like they fucked up the loss bonus, bro. The script for the server. How and that happened in Dallas. It's like how did we all miss it and no one noticed? I guess it's just something you don't really pay attention to, and when you watch the stream you don't see the money change, right? Like because it's the cameras on something else. But how is someone there like it happened to you guys last tournament and no one's like, hey, make sure we double check the fucking loss bonus, or even then like changing all the scripts and all that shit? Like that's fucking embarrassing. Like on a tournament of the scale of Cologne, that you have a mistake like that sneak through should never happen. And I don't know, I mean, definitely would have affected something along the line. I just don't know if it necessarily affected any of the results. I don't believe so, but in any case, it's not something that you should ever have to ask the question about it. It's like basic shit, just sort it out.
I think
that was go on.
I think the thing with it, the people will go, oh yeah, but both teams had it or whatever, right? But I don't. That should never even be the conversation. It should never come into play, right? Like the whole scenario should be that it is the correct rule set being deployed, and the fact that it wasn't, like, I think the fact that it was 2 events in a row is the most concerning part. And you think now it's going to have a higher level of scrutiny, but it already should have. So I think it's just a bit disappointing. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm just having a look at it right now. So rounds where the bomb was diffused in the first half of Inferno twice, once in the second half. So there's 3 rounds where it would have made an impact. The bomb was only diffused twice in total on the second map of play, and the bomb was diffused 1, 2, 3. It was only, dude, it's crazy how few diffusers there were in the entire series. That's wild. So there was only a total of 8 diffusers in the entire 3-map series of Saw versus FaZe. And then we had the other one, which was G2 in the mix. So let me have a look at that one.
I know, but it doesn't even matter. You know how it works, Chad. Like you look at the money, you're like, okay, we can make something happen here, or you don't. Like sometimes that 200 is enough. Like if you have for an AK or for a Galil, instead of having to play with a pistol, that's all you look at, right? Like, and maybe that 200 was...
it's surprising to me how few rounds there was actually diffusals.
Yeah. I feel you.
It's kind of crazy.
I mean, I guess after it happens at Dallas and it happens in Cologne, I'd be willing to place a pretty fucking hefty wager that it's not going to happen, at Pro League. you know.
Well, we'll make sure.
Find a betting site on that.
There's a skit idea or something. We can meme around it a little bit.
Oh yeah, Jason going in and checking all the configs. There you go, Jason. Jason, you're going to go work BetBoom though, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, I leave on.
Which means that you're not even going to be there for the first media day.
Yeah, I will be. I am. I arranged it so that I would be.
Okay,
I accepted because I accepted Pro League first, so I was like, I'm not going to not show up for the media day.
Okay, but Henry won't be there for the first media day.
Yeah, I think he has a flight in on the 2nd in the afternoon. I got a flight out the 1st at like 8:10 p.m. That's direct to Malta.
And I arrived.
So I land
2-3 p.m. on media day.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't miss Pro League Media Day, man.
You're needed. I got some stuff I need you to do.
Okay, I'm game. You just send me the scripts, baby. I'll start memorizing them now.
We don't need any scripts, Jason. I just need you to embody Jason Rogaine.
Okay, perfect.
Like, I don't want to talk too much about it now. I don't want.
Yeah, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Yeah.
What do you guys reckon? Yeah, go, Jason. Go. Mine's not important.
I was going to say, did you guys see this? I don't know if you guys saw this news out of the NA side of the pond of teams being forced to choose between playing in the Rio or Atlanta qualifier.
Yes, it's fine.
Nope, you're making something about
you're making a drama about it, like for no reason. I saw all his tweets and he's right. Like you can't. What if one team like makes it in both and then beats some teams and then wins the other one? Right, what happens to these teams that they beat in the other qualifier that all of a sudden doesn't matter for them anymore? Right, like you just kind of ruin their opportunity for no reason. This way, you have to pick one, and then you either win or you lose.
I'm actually 100% on the side of Yanko and I guess CSL on this one. I think it's 100% the right decision. Yeah.
Plot twist.
I see a lot of people getting outraged about it, but I'm just like, I don't know what you guys expect. Like you can't even make it to the event. There's like one event ends on the 6th and the other one starts on the 7th, and you have to have like a 16-hour travel day to, like it doesn't work. The only asterisk I would put on that is maybe should know this already. Do these qualifier events count as points in the Valve rankings?
What,
you know
the
what I mean?
close qualifiers?
Yeah, like if you can gain Valve ranking points that contribute to your ability to attend a major.
To be honest, I'm not sure I really care about it.
Because they also
fucked up. Because they also but they also fucked up by letting these teams play in open qualifiers, both of them. So ESL thought of it late. Now that it's the close qualifiers, now they're not letting them. But some of these teams got to the close qualifier by playing the open and already knocked some teams out in the open, right? So
yeah, but
the fuck up already happened.
Yeah, I'm with you. But if those events give you points in the future, like if this happens again next year when these rankings are going to feed into a major, then like 100% you should be allowed to play in it because it's an ability to get points for the major. Like you can't just not let somebody attend an event that can allow them to qualify for the biggest events of the year. I understand it 100% in the situation of Atlanta and Rio main events scheduling. 100% shouldn't be allowed in that situation. But if these teams are like the difference between this team making, the major and not making the major is them playing in this qualifier and you don't let them, I think that'd be bogus as fuck. So I think that's probably an area where I'd look at and say that better be someone better take a keen look at that.
I also have a bit of a hard time.
Won't there be a lot of overlaps with this stuff in the future? Like when we need to have more, let's say we live in a world where there's going to be more open qualifiers. Won't this be an issue that will just exist? Like you have to pick and choose which events that you're going to play in, and like I'm not talking about this case specifically because I don't know the details. I'm reading Uli's tweet right now. Let me read Uli's tweet. Can I read it out loud, Jason?
Yeah, read it out loud, baby.
Okay. So this is Uli Schultz. It's probably not pronounced Schultz. There's no T. Anyway, he's the SVP of Game Ecosystems at ESL Faceit Group, or EFG, if you guys are playing at home. Ensuring that teams do not play in qualifiers for events that overlap, i.e. they cannot attend both, is not about reducing opportunities, nor is it about extra work for ESL admins. It is about fairness to all participating teams in the qualifiers. If a team played in both qualifiers, won one of them and won or progressed far in the other qualifier, it would be unfair to any team they beat along the way in the qualifier of the event they ultimately did not attend.
Yep.
Okay. Simply inviting, that makes sense. Simply inviting the runner-up of that qualifier would not solve for this. Okay. I understand how this may be a source of frustration for teams affected, but they would very likely be equally frustrated if they were on the other side of the situation I described above.
I think he's spot on with all that.
Okay. And then how that plays into what you were saying of it must have some form of an impact on the rankings, right?
Yeah, that's my curiosity, because I think it makes entire sense within like the narrow scope of ESL's circuit and the events that they have. I think it makes complete sense. But if those qualifiers are going to give teams points to qualify for the major, you can't just force somebody out of an opportunity for them to gain ranking points to play at the World Championship. That's an insane loss of opportunity for these teams. That like what happens if you're one of those teams and you're like, oh, to make it to the major, I have to do good in both of these qualifiers. These are my last chance for points. Like I think you have to let them play in that for the ranking points.
That's an interesting angle and not one that I considered. Or not one that because I really didn't look into this situation.
Yeah, I didn't. I haven't either. I just kind of caught my eye last night and didn't even think about it until we got to the podcast. But that's why I'm wondering if these qualifiers are give points for Valve rankings. I'm assuming they do, which is going to be a massive problem in the future moving forward.
Yeah, I would say it must have some form of an implication regarding that. But this is where this is going to be curious. This is going to be very curious of how this scenario will unfold in the future with, because like I said, there'll be open qualifiers or there'll be closed qualifiers or there'll be qualifiers that overlap with one another. I imagine more next year than even this year.
100%. With this way the schedule works out, there's going to be so much overlap. And
I think it's not fair to say like it'll be negligible, because in the big picture, who really knows what the details are going to be in that regard? It's just it's a curious consideration, I think.
I mean, this stuff is where it's going to start getting complicated, and we're going to have to do a lot of untangling next year with some of these rules. I know I watched a little clip of Duncan and Maui's Snake and Banner. They had a banter. They had a liege on, and he was talking about something I touched on a couple episodes after EWC when I talked to M80. And Elige basically said there's no point for M80 to play, like with so few events in NA, there's no point for them to play in one of the few events, which is this upcoming NA Revival Cup, which is run by Complexity and Flom. Because they can't lose. You can't lose anything. If you lose to a team, you lose a shit ton of ranking points. But if you beat teams that you're so far ahead of in the rankings, you don't gain anything. So by attending the event, you're actually putting yourself in a worse position, which is an area where this kind of structure and organization to the scene backfires.
Okay, I see what you're saying. That's curious.
So like for them, they were like, we'd love to play this, but there's no point, because if we have a bad day and lose to this team, we lose 300 points. If we have a good day and we beat this team, we gain 10 points, like whatever the numbers might be. Like the potential loss outweighs the potential gain so heavily that there's no point in even risking it. Which is just filtering teams away from playing in those kinds of events. So
so you're disincentivized.
Yeah, which is like a shitty way to have a scene organized, that you would disincentivize anyone to play in an actual event.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well,
but these are the growing pains.
Solving that problem, though.
I guess you'd want to add like a. I don't know. I guess you'd want to add like some kind of point gain just for winning the event, like some kind of flat gain to like make it worth the risk.
But then wouldn't you just go and farm noob events all the time if you were going to get like a substantial
you'd have
to wrong choice of words.
You'd have to probably gear the reward to like the quality of the event or the teams that are at the event, which might be a lot of work. But this is also where I don't know.
But the quality of the teams at that type of event is bad, and that's why they're disincentivized, because if they lose to bad teams, it means more for the bad team than it does for them, right? They can't really gain anything. Like that kind of. I'm just working through my brain right now.
Yeah,
this isn't
I'm with you.
Locked in opinion or anything, but isn't that the intention? Like they would be a higher ranked team, and they shouldn't, if they're better, which is kind of what the ranking is meant to say is the case, then they're losing to a much worse team, because that's what these other teams are, right? There should be a big drop off. Will reflect that. Right?
Yeah. I'm with you.
So,
but you don't want it to be a situation where a team is just sitting at home and they're like, it's better for us to sit on our hands and do nothing than go compete in this event, But it's not
but that kind of makes sense though, right? Like, isn't that, if you looked at it on the scale of Europe, for example, and the problem is it's because North America is struggling, right? That's the problem here, right?
Correct.
It's not that M80 have to play in this event, right? Maybe they would like to play in this event, but they don't have to play in this event for them to be in a strong position ranking-wise to qualify for the circuit. The reason that it sucks is because there's so few North American events, and you would like the better North American teams to compete in said events, but it doesn't benefit M80 to do so, because the risk of them losing outweighs the benefit of them playing, because the prize money is poor, and they help their competition more than it helps themselves. Right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, but
Even
I
though
think that's
you're not
I mean,
too sure, but it did
does.
make sense.
I just don't think that's the way we would want the scene to be organized.
But
I
it
don't
only exists with that problem because the scene is weak. If the scene was strong, then that problem wouldn't exist.
I think
Yeah,
also,
but this also does nothing to solve that problem, though.
I know,
Like,
I know. But I don't think this is intended to solve that problem. Like, I'm not saying that. Like, I'm just saying that that problem exists, and so does. That's why this problem exists. But if M80 played and they lost, then they would help out teams in the region with ranking points.
Okay, what about it? What about it from this angle, though? Too, if you're M80, wouldn't you want to be able to build up some kind of a cushion in the ranking system to where you can build enough of a lead? Like, if you go to this event and win it, don't you at some point want to say, we want to gain enough points to where we put some distance between us and the next ranked team in the Valve rankings, so that, moving into the future, we can sustain some losses and still maintain this position? Like, don't we want to motivate these teams to be playing and competing as much as possible?
No, I think we want to motivate the teams to play in enough events to get enough points to qualify for the major. I don't think we want to be motivating these teams to play as much as possible. If anything, I think for the North American example, potentially, but for the overall example of how the rankings, in my mind, one of the things that I am an advocate of for the top teams in the world is to choose and to pick and choose carefully which events that they want to play, so they can manage the burnout, they can manage the level of strategy that they have to show. I know it's different strokes for different folks, because we're talking about a scene that is not as strong as the European scene. But I don't know if we can curate the rules differently to facilitate that. I see what you're saying. I'm not against what you're saying. I just feel like the reason that it's geared the way it's geared is definitely not to incentivize teams to play as much as possible.
Yeah, I don't mean like as much as possible as in like fucking grind yourself into oblivion and accept everything. But if you're sitting at home and you have a month, before your next event, and there's an online NA Cup that you can't even play in because there's no reason to, because all you can do is.
Well, that's not true either, Jason. Because sorry, I have to push back here. There is a reason to play. They're just scared, right? They are choosing actively not to play.
You can't say they're scared, because by the rules of the qualification, there's no reason for them. It's not fear. It's just they can't gain anything out of playing in that event. They can only lose things, and that's a silly situation to select to put yourself into. It's not fear.
But then they don't need to play the event. They don't need to play the event then, right? Right? No, is
like,
that wrong?
In a way, yeah. But it feels wrong. Like it.
Why
just
does it feel wrong?
It just.
But that's like, I don't think I'm with Chad here, because what basically it sounds like, if you're gonna go back to his tennis references to our circuit, that'd be like saying, okay, maybe Djokovic would be too strong, but someone like like some of the best players, he's not playing in this 500 like tournament, we got 250, 500, 1000 Grand Slams and all that shit, right? Like, it's like, yeah, because it's like kind of not worth it for him in the long run, like just what you get from it, and it takes time that you could spend practicing or whatever, resting from the tournament that you were just in, right? So that shit kind of sorts itself out.
Except, don't we always talk about the fact that there's a certain level of ring rust of teams coming back and not being at a tournament and not playing actual live tournament matches?
They can play. If they play and they win, they don't lose anything, right?
Correct.
But also, why did you mention...
So then don't lose.
Finish.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
I know that's simpler said than done, but what's the trade-off? Is it that we want to play against these teams and we want to play so that we're active? Okay, but that's the risk that you would take with this ranking. Again, this really only is an issue because the North American scene is weak, and I'm not using that as like a jab. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick here and be like, North America, you guys fucking suck. It's the disparity or the disbalance that exists in this scenario is because the scene doesn't have other competitive teams to help sustain a worthwhile event of that capacity. And that is, like you're saying, one of these teething issues and growing pains. But the solution for that is ancillary to the adjustment of the way that Valve are doing things. Obviously, things will be adjusted, but the goal, and I'm sure what you would like, is for the region as a whole to be stronger. But adjusting what Valve have in place, I don't think equals making the region stronger immediately, necessarily.
No, not immediately. But then you get. I don't know. When I look at it, I see it as, it feels like, and maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe it plays out differently next year when more events come back into it, and this is kind of the end of the partner thing causing some weird problems. But it feels like it puts M80 in this weird limbo where the only events that they can really afford to go to in terms of ranking and points are the biggest events over in Europe. And when they have opportunities to do smaller events, it doesn't make any sense. Like when they have an opportunity at home to play in these kinds of online qualifiers. And by the way, this perspective probably doesn't necessarily matter 100%, but as someone who wants the NA scene to get better, we want these better NA teams or teams that are playing out of this region to be competing against the other teams in the region to try and have a higher level of competition that teams have to rise to meet.
Did I miss out on something? Why are
you
you using M80 as an example?
because brought him up?
Yeah, I mentioned this right after EWC in an episode, and then Elige talked about it on a different show, I think yesterday, or it came out this morning, of saying M80 is like disincentivized to play in the NA Revival Cup because they're so far ahead of other teams in terms of their ranking that if there's no way for them to really gain a whole lot of points, but if they lose a game to somebody, they just lose a massive amount of points.
I thought you were talking about it because of like the Atlanta and Rio thing, because they got invited to Atlanta, so that's why they can't do Rio. Like they chose that. I'm sure they would be in the Rio close qualifier.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I see what you're saying, and you're right. But I think it feels like we should. I don't know. It feels like there should be some better. It doesn't feel.
I understand you, Jason. Like there's not that many opportunities to begin with in NA, so you want the teams to be playing that shit regardless, right? To grow the scene and like revive the scene in a sense. That's the name of the fucking series, anyway, right? So you want not necessarily for them to be incentivized, but not to be disincentivized for playing in it. But the team is not going to do that in the current state of things, which kind of also sucks for them because they're NA based. So what are you going to do? There's only so much practice you can play, which is going to force them to spend more time overseas, which is obviously costly for the org, but it is what it is at the moment, right? And things have to get better.
I don't know what the proper solution
and
would be.
The revival series are a good start for some of these lower teams, right? To fight over stuff. Sure. And the way you do it is you keep the prize pool low, because the prize pool, well, that's the problem, because it's not just about the prize pool in the tournament, it's the prize pool earned by the teams, right? In the year that also counts, something like that, right? It's not just how much money like you're getting, it's also like this team that you're playing, where they're ranked and all that stuff.
Yeah. I think prize
there's 100% something like that. So,
and the fact it's online also plays into it too.
I think there'll be a lot of closed qualifiers for shit next year. So I don't think you'll have that problem for those teams. I think you'll be seeing a lot of them. Yeah, like having to play it, because let's just check real quick. I'll just use HLTV because it's easier. Like in the ranking, okay, Liquid is now ranked number 8, which will be, the cutoff point in terms of teams getting invited and that stuff. Complexity is 12, M80 is 27. So they'll all have to be playing close qualifiers to get to these tier 1 lands. And those will probably be online in NA.
And I guess for Liquid, they'll probably still keep hedging in that direction, which, unless Snap moves overseas. Yeah. But Jason, it's not that I'm not trying to be sympathetic towards the plight of North America. It's just that...
No, I got you entirely. Yeah.
Because I'm seen as the number one North American Counter-Strike hater on this podcast. Also the number one G2 hater. So I just wanted, I was thinking through the concern and trying to understand it.
No, I mean, it's not an easy solution, and it's not an easy thing to tackle. And there's obviously a lot of different angles that feed into it. Because I mean, I understand your perspective 100%, but I just feel like I don't know. You're right. That's not the goal of the way that, Valve has structured the scene is to like incentivize and revitalize an entire region. But I feel like there should be some adjustment to make it so it's not so much of a punish to do something like that.
Sure. Well, I guess that's the opposite problem to what you were discussing before with the qualifiers for Rio / Atlanta, and teams being unable to play, and meaning they can't get the points for the major. And then. And this is, you want them to be able to play, but like, because it's to help stimulate the scene. This is the issue with it. There's not enough, and this is the sad part of what I'm about to say, is there is not enough for M80 to gain financially that it or practice wise, because really like that's the other side of this. So if there was more on the line in terms of something financially sustaining, or that was a qualifier for something, like it actually meant that it would get them to a standalone event, then they would be justified. But I think that's fine that it's not justified. Like I think that it's just sad because of the state of the scene. Sure. So it's just an unfortunate scenario that exists, just like Heroic losing to OG.
I saw that.
Well, they might not lose.
When did OG make these rosters? When did this lineup get put together?
Who cares?
How is Fiku still in there?
He's the poster boy.
I pulled this up and I was like, what the fuck? When did these guys all join OG?
He's their franchise player.
I think also we forgot one thing in this whole conversation.
Okay.
Oh, no.
What did we forget?
The ranked and unranked events, with that latest change Valve added to the rule book. So some of these events starting from next year, Jason, might just be unranked.
Okay.
And then teams would play it. But that depends on which teams are there and the prize money. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
like
right.
If it, and I don't want to go into the fucking nitty gritty now because I don't know, I would have to read it and I don't give a fuck about that. But I think there would be a way for them to sort of, to organize a tournament like that would be unranked, but it would maybe fill some dead time in the region, right? When there's no qualifiers, no other tournaments, no traveling, or at least give teams something to play for. And it wouldn't count towards the ranking, but you could get a little cash from playing it, and it would be just to stimulate the scene.
Yeah, that's a fair. I forgot about that whole unranked thing. Okay,
there you go.
That makes me feel a little bit better. You've cheered me up, Yanko.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm here for.
That's what I'm here for.
A beacon of positivity. A cheerful human, first and foremost.
All that anger I had building up inside of me is just fading away.
Exactly.
So what are we doing with our lives, guys? Are we just doing Counter-Strike till we die?
We're just doing Counter-Strike till we die, I think. I think we signed up for that.
I don't know why you're like contemplating retirement, Chad, and all this shit. What else? Is there anything better to do in life than this? You're just in Cologne. You want to like not go there in 5 years, like, and
I have a different opinion on this whole Carsten gig than some other people. I don't think it's something that I can or should do forever.
You could be the Joe Buck of or Troy Aikman of Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there'll be other people eventually, and those other people will be doing the job. Like I don't know how that's going to age, but it's also one of those things where it's not like I'm thinking, oh yeah, I've got my papers written up, I'm going to go hand them in or anything like that. Like I would still want to be involved in Counter-Strike. It's just I don't know if I can keep being away from Australia forever because I'm missing a lot of things that are happening down there, which is
I'm with you. I understand.
That's fair. You could still do it. Maybe not on the same scale. Whatever. But you have enough pull to make it happen. I mean, Mac was just in Cologne, bro. If they're gonna fly Mac out, they'll fly you out.
It's just I
That just sounded like fucking.
that
sounded terrible.
Like a little bit of a
But shout out to Mac. I know he listens to the
yeah.
potty.
Shout out to our boy Mac.
Didn't mean anything bad by that, mate. Just like
he listens to this podcast. So what's up, Mac?
Yeah.
I know that I'm very fortunate to be in the position I'm in, which is why like the even the thought of not doing it anymore seems like it's ungrateful. But I just as you get older, you think about other things.
No, man, it's also, I mean, it's a healthy perspective to have. I mean, I have that same kind of thought process too, is like, I don't know if I can do this forever. I don't know if it's going to be me selecting to step away from it, or if I feel like I'm going to get outstriped by the next generation of commentators coming up. Or sometimes it's like, I also, part of the motivation behind some of the pro league pitches that we did, obviously was to wanting to get some experience in other areas of the industry. So if that eventuality does happen, you're not just sat here holding a fucking bag, wondering where the fuck everything went. Like diversifying. Yeah. We obviously can't do commentary the way we did it in 2017, 2018, 2019, even to a certain extent the way we're doing it now, where it's 200.
It was even unhealthy to do it then in such a way.
Yeah.
But luckily,
maybe it's not 200 days out of the year. Maybe it's 80 days of the year. 80 days of 80 broadcast days a year. Maybe it's 50. Maybe it's 100. There's going to be a number that you scale down to. For sure. But
that's the one thing that's the one part that I think is a little bit unrealistic, because we all three of us know that if you try to scale down when it's not you're trying to scale down, but the industry isn't scaling down, you're just going to lose your spot to someone who will be available to do, every single tournament from whatever ESL or Blast. If you go to Blast, say, hey, I don't want to do groups, but I want to do the finals, or I don't want to do this season, I'll do that season. They'll say, sure, no problem. And then for next year, they'll find someone who'll do both, right? Because they're also looking for consistency in a way. So that is like, you can't really be doing
that's right. That's right. Yeah. But I mean, I think there's smart ways to do it too, right? Like there's a difference between trying to scale down
mine
to
was
like
the stupid way.
Well, I think, if you look at it,
Jason.
now I'm going to piss you off. Thanks for making me happy. Like if you scale back in a way where it's like, instead of 160 days out of the year, I'll do 100, and I'm just going to focus on, maybe you're able to get, that long-term contract with ESL to do 100 days for them. Maybe it's, more exclusive to PGL. But I think if you scale back in that sense from commentary, you have to build up other ways to also be in front of the audience, which is one, this podcast, to like someone like Launder's doing it really smart with his YouTube channel, focusing on other areas of making sure that you're still relevant in the audience's mind, and you're still out there to be seen and still making content within the community. So, I mean, I think, if you scale back, you're able to just get involved in other things that would, if you want to keep doing commentary, would have to, keep you as part of that community to the audience. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I think my thoughts are just thoughts. You guys know that I am, what's a nice word that I can use to describe myself? Mentally unwell. So it's all just, I'm going to keep doing the same thing I've been doing now for the better part of the last decade. It's not going to stop just because I think about it.
I like how you found your way to socialize. It's like, as long as you have spoons, you're there. When you run out of spoons, you're out.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to. I learned about spoon theory, Jason. You ever heard about spoon theory?
No, but I'm super intrigued.
So I don't know much about spoon theory, and I didn't really look into it. But OJ was just saying that there was some individual that is to do with like mental or physical energy. I think it was both. That a person has available for any given day. They have like a spoon drawer, and how many spoons do you have in your drawer? And once you're out of spoons, you're kind of done for the day. So, like maybe going to the gym.
The spoon is metaphorical in this situation.
Yeah, I guess. Like, let's say like one spoon, like going to the gym cost me a spoon, but going out and socializing with a bunch of people cost me like 3 spoons.
And if you only have 4 spoons in your drawer, you're fucking done.
I'm done
after that.
It's all over.
Okay, I was
So-
imagining you at like the hotel bar after the final with like a handful of spoons, and anytime someone said something that annoyed you, you just like set a spoon to the side. And
Okay,
then
I
you
could
ran out
do
of spoons in
literal.
your hand.
I'd be out of there pretty quick, I think.
Yeah. And then there'd just be a pile of fucking spoons, and we'd be like,
No, I
hey,
had to
there's-
hang
there's
around in
Chad's
the
spoons.
lobby. I had to hang around in the lobby on the final night until after midnight because I had ordered McDonald's, but it was continuously
Taking its
waylaid
time.
until it was delivered. So I kind of had to hang around until the food was delivered, and then I was permitted to be able to go to bed by myself.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it was one of those things, you know. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
one of
people
those
in that
things.
hotel lobby.
Well, that hotel lobby gets bombarded by a lot. Well, there's also a lot of the attendees of the event staying there too. By that point in the week.
Yeah, and then also Gamescom like kicked off like a couple days after, so maybe people were early there for that as well. But it's pretty happening. Apex was jumping up on the bar and pouring champagne into the trophy, which I thought was pretty baller.
Yeah, I've seen those clips. He looked happy.
Yeah, and he should be. He played well in that final. Like it's not one of those games where people can say that he wasn't contributing in the fragging department. That's not the case.
Yeah, I mean
whatsoever.
they don't win
delivered
nuke.
impact.
They don't win nuke without him 100%. Like he made game-changing plays, especially down the stretch. And I think also again Cologne, just you have number 1 and number 3 in the final. It's just the best tournament right now because of the format. Because there's no best of ones anymore. There's no bullshit draws, anything like that. The only thing that's still lacking, that Chad will say, is that we're straight to semis and quarterfinals. Like that's the one thing that you hope somehow gets better one day, and also probably just even for the groups, you do some small audience somewhere or some small venue. Like I think perhaps that's like the next step.
That's
you can
the
do with
evolution
Cologne.
in 10
If you
years or whatever.
if you had to pick one or the other, which would you prioritize?
What do you mean?
Small crowd for groups or for quarterfinals?
For quarterfinals.
Yeah.
But if it can be good, I don't want to put quarterfinals on a Thursday as well, and for it to be half empty. Fuck
Agreed.
it.
Yeah.
Or to
Yep,
put
yep.
4 of them in one day, and then 2 of them
Can I
are also
merge the
half
two?
empty.
If I merge the two, smaller venue for quarterfinals on a Thursday and a Friday, bigger venue or different configuration for the
I think that'd
Saturday,
be
Sunday.
sweet, but the logistics of that would be so fucking
Oh yeah,
insane.
I know. It's a dream. It's not a
Oh
realistic.
yeah. It's a fucking
But I
fantasy.
that would make me happier.
Hey,
like if you
can
had
I-
a little bit more intimate thing. Yeah.
Can I ask you? I saw a tweet come out of HLTV confirmed some little fucking rumor of old Hooksy throwing on an Astralis jersey.
That's a troll.
That's a troll.
Yeah.
That was going to be my question. If that was a troll or if that was something.
No, like so. There's this fucking one of these dumb fucking Twitter fucking things. It's like called I don't want to name it actually. I'll just call it a fucking dumb fucking Twitter thing. Anyway, so they must have been watching the podcast as stuff's coming out live. And then they're creating like these quotes with images and then they're posting them like it's so fucking dumb. Like one of them for me, they did it like I would send Carrigan to Australis to replace Stare and Rops to Vitality to replace Mezzi, Brokey to Navi for Wonderful doesn't sound bad. Like that was all said in jest because Stryker was talking about, what's wrong with FaZe and like what they could do and talk about like, oh, who would you even replace? So I was just like, well, no, like fuck it, like just blow it up. Like who would you send where? Like in jest, because obviously that's not happening because it was just like having the conversation about what's wrong with FaZe. We don't fucking know. Like it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
And then they did one with Stryker was talking about this Hooksy thing. And then this is crazy the way that they wrote this one. Astralis are reportedly eyeing Hooksy as their next captain. Like Stryker didn't say that. He said like there'd been some rumors or whatever about it, right? And it was basically saying that like Stryker had reported on this being. I think he's edited it. I think he changed it actually.
Oh,
Because-
what a rat.
Yeah. But anyway, fucking hell, like just seeing this. And I think it's done by an English second language person, which is very common for our space. So things that are in jest or a joke or, but it's like, then don't be posting news. Like you're just drama farming, you fucking rat dog. Like, what are we doing, man? It's like this fucking knobhead coming after me, accusing me of queuing with fucking cheaters, man, because some leaderfy, who the fuck uses leaderfy, man? Says I was in a lobby with him, man. I wasn't in a fucking lobby with him, man.
Yeah.
You were in a lobby with
what I
him.
mean?
You weren't in the party with him. Is that?
Well, oh yeah, that's right. I was in a lobby with him. I wasn't in a party with him. See how frustrated I am? I can't even get it out right. And he's like linking things. He's like, oh well, the leaderfied lobby says you were. Like leaderfied thing says you're in a party with him. It's like, bro, I don't know what to tell you. Like you put me on a lie detector test.
Just
like,
message Mahone and tell him to fix it. He's there now. Tell him to fix it.
Fuck, man.
Or you'll sue.
Or I'll sue. Yeah. What do you guys think about this chair? Also, I'm not really upset. I'm just expressing myself. What do you guys think? Should I get this chair?
Just get the
chair.
fucking.
I need a new chair. I know it's a gaming chair, but I need something new.
Get the Herman Miller in body, bro.
I live in Malta, man. Come on, man. Where am I getting the Herman Miller from?
Don't they have? They have office chairs there. Like what the fuck?
I can get you one for cheap.
What, Herman Miller?
Yeah.
You got a hookup?
I live 30 minutes away from the Herman Miller, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a warehouse, but what it is it's like offices that have the Herman Miller chairs and shut down or go bankrupt, and they take them back and then they just sell them for
Repossessed Herman Millers.
Yeah, they sell them for like 30% of what their original cost is, and you get a big discount. And they're all fine. They're all in great shape. I'm using one of them right now. I'm sitting on a desk I got there from Herman Miller. I'm sitting on a chair I got there from Herman Miller, and I'll ship it out to you. Probably be way more expensive than just buying it at
shipping.
cost.
I was going to say the shipping might
Shipping of an entire office
than the chair.
Here you go, Chad. Found it for you.
Why do I want a Henry Miller? It's like Joe Miller and Henry fucking combined.
I know it's just the most comfortable one.
I think like Herman Miller and Steelcase are like two companies at the top of like office furniture, like desk chairs, desks, in terms of like good posture, comfortable, in engineering and design. They're like the two top
What's wrong with
companies.
this thing? Look at this thing's got a fucking headrest that I linked before. It's
I don't know, dude. That's probably made in like the same warehouse as like chairs of like 6 different companies. It's probably just like,
I thought you were going to say China, Jason. Everything's made in China.
I was going to say China, and I just decided to just go with the same warehouse as 5 different chairs companies that are being made. I thought that would
get cancelled, man.
It'd get the same impression across, right? Like you knew I was talking about China without even saying China.
I can't believe they're coming for you, Jason. It's been a good run. You've made a good. You've had a good career, Jason. It's a great job, mate. But now that's it. You said China. It's over.
I've saved some money. I'll be fine. It'll be interesting.
I hope the bathroom doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. All right, boys.
It does.
Should we shut it down?
I
feel like the time went really quick.
Yeah, it did. It's just like we have the close qualifiers going on. Lead is 2-0.
I watched Zero Tenacity versus Rebels, and there was a heartbreaking finish for the Zero Tenacity guys. You guys wouldn't believe it. So they fucking pushed Palace, like they were in the lead, but Rebels was clawing it back, and then they pushed Palace, and they get the bomb dropped in Palace, and the guy who got the kill with the MP9, he gets traded, but Nemaha or whatever the fucking guy's name is, he comes in, and he trades back, and he gets the AWP. So now the bomb is down on Mirage in Palace. One AWP is covering the fucking CT side if the T's are going to jump up from A. One AWP is covering as if the T's are going to come from T spawn. They got the bomb. You think it's going to be their round, and then they lose. So really exciting, guys.
Then they lost the second game 13-11 as well.
Yeah. There's two on-call games coming up in these close qualifiers, which I can't. My brain can't do that. Actually, one of them's the False Showdown. I can't.
NAP Amcal.
Yeah, like why is that a match going on right now?
Come on, Jason.
You just became a hater, Jason. You turned to the dark side, bro. Shit.
That match fundamentally changed me at the last RMR. It fundamentally changed the composition of my being, and I can't do it.
Should we leave everybody on that bombshell?
I think so. Yeah,
we're good.
All right. Well,
peace.
Big gulps, huh? See you later.
Auf Wiedersehen.